The first 5 books of the Bible were not written by Moses. The Bible itself doesn't claim that. That is doctrine. That is something that we have been taught. Not even the Gospels were written by the men that the books are named after. Again, that is doctrine. That is something that we have been taught. And before you get into the comment section and crucify me, I want to invite you to what I call honest ground, where we explore Christianity and its claims. And the goal of that is to learn so that we can be people that are, yes, informed, and so that if we choose to believe, that our faith may rest on sure ground. And today, I want to, as a matter of introducing honest ground, I want to talk about 5 myths about Christianity and or the Bible, especially. And then I will dive into why this journey is actually important and how you and I have actually been programmed to come at this topic in particular from a defensive posture rather than one that invites curiosity. So, without further ado, let's get into the myths. Myth number 1, the Bible is a book. No, it's not. The Bible is an anthology. It's a library. It is a collection of books. Excuse me. But that's what it is. And to say that is to acknowledge a couple of things, that as a collection of books, it has diverse genres in it. Prophecy is a genre. Love poetry, narrative, law. Those are genres of the books in the Bible. And oftentimes these genres kind of intermingle. There is a human hand involved in this, and it is super important for us to realize this. So it also presents different styles, like I've said, and the styles are not uniform. And neither is the message, because we have this idea that the Bible is a book that literally you can stitch the narrative from beginning to end and it will make sense. We make it feel that way, and we read so much into it that it feels that way. But objectively speaking, it cannot and should not. The books of the Bible should stand by themselves. Okay? That's myth number 1, that the Bible is a book. It is a library. Multiple authors, multiple genres. Myth number 2, biblical characters are saints to be emulated. Nah, they're not. In fact, there is evidence to show that some of the biblical characters are inventions. That, like, there is no historical data to back some of the biblical characters that we have so come to love and endear. That can be jarring for somebody who was brought up in church world like myself. But as a biblical scholar coming at this from both an academic and theological perspective, I have to be okay with the fact that some biblical characters were invented. And that does not negate the lessons that those characters may teach. Because guess what? We read so many stories of fictitious characters and we go like, I can learn from that. Those stories are still meaningful. A myth doesn't have to be true for it to be useful to you and I. And I want you to sit with that for a second, because it can be shocking to your Christian system when you begin to sit with some of these assertions that I'm making. So you have to understand the biblical characters are not saints. Okay? They are people. Jacob is a deceiver. Joseph is an arrogant kid. You know, Judah sleeps with his daughter-in-law. Like, we got crazy stuff that is happening in the Bible. David commits murder. I mean, geez, saints? Really? That's what we're going with? That's what we settled with. They're saints. Well, myth number 2. Myth number 3, and this one can be kind of, and it was shocking to me, and I had to sit with it for a second, and I had to talk to my wife about it because it hits very close to home, that the Bible is for children. That's a myth. The Bible is not for children. And here's why. There's so many themes in the Bible that are inappropriate for children. If you don't believe me, is it okay for me to teach my 8-year-old about incest, about rape, about treachery? I don't think so. In fact, we're experiencing it where we teach our son something and he has so many questions that we know those questions the answers to those questions contradict the very thing that we have just taught him, because we're trying to make such a complex and adult book appeal to a child. Am I saying you shouldn't teach your child the Bible? That's not what I'm saying. But the myth that we have lived with is that everything in the Bible can be taught to children and it's okay. It's not. Now, how do you explain genocide to a child? Like God commanded all these people to kill everybody, including children. How do you reason that away? That's myth number 3. The Bible is for children. Myth number 4. And by the way, before I even go there's so many other topics that the Bible just moral situations that it explores that are just not resolved in the Bible. And they're just left hanging. And for a child who is so impressionable, those things can be jarring. So we need to really think about that. Anyway, myth number 4, the Bible is a theology textbook. As somebody who went to Bible school, I can tell you this, that either explicitly or implicitly, we were taught that the Bible is your textbook. This is what you teach from. And the Bible has every answer for every situation in the world. That is a lie. 20 plus years of pastoring has taught me that is a lie. You cannot just pick up the Bible and go like it applies to every situation, because it doesn't. That is a total lie. But you also have to realize why Bible schools exist. And they're different from seminaries. And let me tell you this. A Bible school is usually led by a denomination. A denomination has a very set doctrine and beliefs and dogmas. You cannot be ordained as a pastor in that denomination if you do not agree with the doctrine of the denomination. Why? Because the denomination not only wants you to agree with that, but they expect you to teach that and to disciple people in the doctrine, not necessarily the Bible, but the doctrine of the denomination that the Bible approves and advocates. So, as somebody who went to Bible school, I can tell you that that is the perspective from which a lot of your pastors are coming from, right? When you go to seminary, that is a little bit different, but that also depends on which seminary you go to, because some denominations own seminaries. But if you go to a non-Christian university and you go to study the Bible, there is a different perspective, and it is not necessarily an unchristian perspective. It is coming from an academic, historical, biblical scholarship perspective. In other words, they let evidence lead where it leads. They have, quote unquote, no dog in the fight to prove the Bible is wrong or right. The evidence is the evidence, and that's what they go with. That's where I am. I'm a biblical scholar. And some of the things I will say in honest ground will be shocking to people that have grown up in church world. And that's okay. But like I say, if your faith cannot withstand scrutiny, then is it really faith? All right. Myth number 5. Let me see. Did I leave out anything on that? No. Myth number 5. God or Moses wrote the Bible. That's a myth. The Bible itself doesn't claim that the Bible is written by God. And I know there'll be people that are like, well, but Campbell, the Bible says that, all scriptures God breathed. And who said that? When did they say that? Why did they say that? You see, those are questions that Christians are not willing to sit with. When you look at the Bible as a book, a collection of books that has sat in history, that has been influenced by the culture of the people that edited and wrote the Bible, then you begin to approach it differently. But it is a myth that God or Moses wrote the Bible. The Bible itself doesn't claim that, because there's clear evidence of multiple authors, editors, and centuries of transmission with traceable, not just perspectives, but agendas. Like, there was a bent to some of the books that were compiled and put in the Bible. My friend, if you are willing to explore this, the first topic we're really going to talk about is an introduction to the Bible. I'm not coming at this from a theological perspective. If you're expecting theology, if you are expecting me to push my denominational perspective, this is not for you. But if you are a person who is wanting to explore the Bible as a literary work, a collection of books influenced by the cultures of the people that wrote it, this is the space for you. And I invite you into that journey. Now, I know there's some people that get very passionate when I post videos like this, and they go on theological treatises. I'm not going to discourage that. You can do that. What I'm not going to do is engage in the debate, because I am not a Christian apologist, meaning I'm not here to defend the Christian faith. And you have to understand that that is a very different mindset and perspective. Christian apologists are already coming from a place of concluded belief, meaning that they have already been convinced of what they believe, and they're going to defend that, and they're going to use the Bible to defend that. I'm not interested in that. I'm not interested in engaging in conversations and debates about if the Bible says this, the Bible says that. No, we're coming at this from a scholarly perspective. I have outlines. I have book recommendations. And some of these books, in fact, all of the books that I have chosen are heavy, meaning like they are heavy in terms of content, but they're also heavy in terms of volume. I mean, yes, there are a few books that may be 200 pages long. There's nothing less than that. So most of them are about 300-400 pages. And I'm not saying that's to kind of go like the size of the book means it's that good. But what I'm saying is there is depth and meat to this. And if you are willing to dive in with me, I got materials, I got outlines, I got guides to help you in the process. So I'm posting this, first of all, to my personal channels. This video is going to go on YouTube. This video will have an Honest Ground itself as a channel. We'll have a space somewhere here on Facebook. There'll be a page dedicated to that so that we can invite perspective. I'm weighing whether I start a membership community to this, meaning like we have a group that is closed, a group that can actually sit and just explore these things. Again, if you're interested in things like that, let me know in the comment section. Those things I'm interested in hearing. But I want you to sit with these myths and maybe tell me, where do you land? What myth have you been carrying, and what myth did you go like, that gave me pause? All right, I love you. And welcome to this journey of exploring the Christian faith through the eyes of history and biblical scholarship. God bless you.